Your heart races as you step forward, ready to impress, but within seconds, you notice it. Her eyes lose their light, her smile fades, and she begins to drift away. Not because you look bad, not because you said the wrong thing. She simply felt it, weak energy. No spark, no pull, only a false sense of safety that quietly kills attraction. Machiavelli called this a fatal mistake, needing her more than you stand in your own ground. Attraction doesn't grow from comfort, it is born from tension. In this video, I'll show you how to create the kind of presence that draws her closer, without chasing, without begging. If being nice has ever made you invisible, watch closely until the end. 1. Why questions kill attraction. She doesn't lose interest when you run out of things to say. She loses interest the moment she sees it. The empty smile, the searching eyes, the way you hand her the weight of the moment and hope she carries it. And nothing reveals this faster than starting with the same safe questions she's heard 100 times before. Take Evan, 32, an architect from Chicago. Well-dressed, steady job, polite smile. He spotted Julia at a rooftop bar, glowing in the sunset. He walked over and asked, "So, what do you do?" She answered casually. He nodded, buying time. "Where are you from?" she replied, eyes drifting away. He laughed lightly, not from joy but to ease the silence. "How long have you been here?" Her answers grew shorter, her interest fading. To him, it was polite conversation. To her, it felt like a job interview she never agreed to. She had seen this play out countless times, men leaning in nervously, waiting for her to make them interesting. She noticed his tilted shoulders begging for approval, the forced chuckles, the pauses as he searched for the right thing to say. Within 2 minutes, she was already elsewhere. Not because of his words, but because there was no energy behind them. No spark, no frame, just another man hoping she'd carry the weight of the moment. By the time he asked, "What do you like to do for fun?" her body had already turned toward her friends. Machiavelli would call this a fatal mistake, giving away control of the moment to the very person you hope will follow you. In the theater of attraction, the man who acts like an interviewer is never cast as the lead. Desire doesn't come from collecting facts. It comes from the feeling you create, without asking for permission. He thought curiosity meant asking questions. She saw it as neediness, and neediness kills attraction faster than anything. He thought shining the light on her would make her feel special. Instead, she felt pressured to carry him. So ask yourself honestly, how much of what you call being respectful is really just surrender in disguise? When was the last time you entered a moment armed with nothing but small talk and watched her interest disappear? Drop that pattern, and I'll show you the exact move that could have changed it all. Stop opening with questions she's heard 100 times. Lead with something real. Your observation, your energy, the frame you want her to enter. Set the scene before you invite her in. When you do, she leans forward, not to rescue the conversation, but because she's drawn to the world you've already built. You'll see it in her eyes. She's not just listening, she's stepping closer. Skip this, and you'll keep letting women decide if your story is worth hearing. Stay with me, because next, I'll show you exactly what she's scanning for, and the split-second test that decides whether you're a man to follow or a man to forget. Your words already have value without waiting for her to approve them. When you realize this, you'll see people lean in, not to save you, but to join you. That's when you stop chasing presence and start radiating it. Miss this shift, and you'll keep giving control away to anyone standing in front of you. But once you learn it, everything changes. She feels your pull before she even understands why, and once she feels it, she won't forget. 3. The shift that changes everything. The instant she senses you're waiting for her to set the tone is the instant she decides you're not the man she thought you might be. It happens faster than you think, one subtle flicker in her eyes, one small tilt of her body away. You might still be speaking, but in her mind, she's already gone. Take Ethan, 32, a software consultant from Denver. He met Julia at a friend's art gallery. She leaned casually against a white wall, glass of wine in hand, confident in the space around her. Ethan approached with a polite smile and asked, "So, what do you do?" Julia's lips curved politely, but her gaze drifted past him for just a second. He didn't notice. He filled the silence with more questions, his voice rising slightly, as if each answer might unlock connection. But Julia wasn't listening to his words. She was listening for presence. Was this a man who could hold the frame, or a man waiting for her to lead? By the time her eyes wandered towards someone new, the answer was clear. She wasn't rejecting his questions. She was rejecting the energy behind them. The signal was subtle but final. He needed her to anchor the moment because he couldn't. Machiavelli would have named it instantly, the fatal tell. The moment you make your presence dependent on someone else's reaction, you've already lost the stage. In the theater of attraction, leadership isn't control. It's creating a steady space that invites her in. Words can't cover for a shaky presence. What matters next isn't pretending to be bold. It's shifting the frame so she feels your weight before you even speak. He thought asking questions showed curiosity. She saw hesitation. He thought letting her lead was respect. She saw a man unsure if he could lead at all. And when a man's energy asks for permission, the answer, spoken or silent, is always no. So ask yourself, how much of what you call politeness is really surrender? What ground did you abandon the moment she pulled away, leaving your fortress wide open? Boil it down to one line, and you'll see why it collapsed. Before your next conversation, drop the safe openers like, "What do you do?" or "Where are you from?" Instead, lead with a statement that sets the scene in your world. Something that carries its own energy without waiting for hers. Stand as if you already belong. You'll notice the shift. She leans in, not to rescue the moment, but because she wants to step into it. Miss this shift, and every conversation will feel like another interview you can't win. Catch it, and you'll turn the first 30 seconds into a hook she can't pull away from. 4. How to handle agreement like a man. The first time she disagrees with you is not a threat, it's a hidden test. Most men fail instantly. They smile too quickly, agree too fast, as if removing tension will build attraction. But when you drop your stance, she's not thinking, "What a nice guy." She's wondering if you'll collapse when it truly matters. Brian, 35, owned a small design studio in Chicago. He met Hannah at a rooftop party on a warm summer night. String lights swayed above, music hummed softly. Laughter broke around them. They had been talking for 10 minutes when Ryan looked around the rooftop and said, "I like this place. It has that calm after the storm vibe. Feels like time slows down here." Hannah tilted her head, lips curling, not quite a smile, and replied, "I don't really like it. Feels pretentious." That was the moment. Ryan's chest tightened. Afraid of tension, he laughed softly and said, "Yeah, I guess it's not that great." Within 3 seconds, her gaze shifted. Cooler, less engaged. The conversation stumbled forward, but something invisible had cracked. She wasn't testing his opinion about a bar. She was testing if his presence could survive a ripple. And he had just told her, without meaning to, no, it can't. Machiavelli warned, the man who abandons his position to please another has already declared himself the weaker party. In the silent politics of desire, one small retreat becomes a collapse in perception. Attraction doesn't grow from echoing someone else's view. It grows from creating a frame they want to step into. Disagreement, when handled with calm certainty, isn't conflict. It's proof you can carry your own weather into the room. Up next, I'll show you how to make disagreement magnetic instead of destructive, without turning it into a fight. He thought agreement was connection. She saw surrender. He thought avoiding conflict was maturity. She saw fear. And when a man's ground disappears, so does desire. So ask yourself, how often do you trade your stance for approval you never actually receive? When was the last time her pushback hit like an arrow and you dropped your shield to avoid friction? Write it in one line and I'll give you the counter-strike. Next time she disagrees, don't rush to match her mood. Keep your tone steady, your eyes calm, your posture relaxed. Say, "I get that." Then hold your original thought. Watch what happens. She leans in, not because she suddenly agrees, but because she's curious about a man who doesn't collapse under pressure. That's when the test flips, from searching for weakness to sensing strength. Miss this shift, and every disagreement will quietly erode your presence. Catch it, and you'll see why disagreeing well can spark attraction that changes everything. 5. Real examples that shift energy. The first time she disagrees with you is not a problem. It's a moment of truth. But most men panic. They think, if I just agree with her, she'll like me more. Yet the second you give up your stance, you don't look agreeable, you look afraid. And fear is the fastest way to erase attraction. Take Ethan, 34, a financial analyst from Chicago. On his third date with Lauren, they sat in a rooftop bar, city lights stretching like a golden sea. The mood was light until he said how much he liked the place. Lauren tilted her head, half smiled, and said, "Really? Feels overrated to me?" That small knot in his stomach tightened. Without thinking, he laughed and replied, "Yeah, maybe you're right." She sipped her drink, glanced past him, and the energy shifted. It wasn't about the bar anymore. It was about his willingness to trade his perspective for her approval, and in that instant, her curiosity disappeared. Machiavelli would say, "The man who gives up his position to please declares himself the lesser without speaking a word." In the silent currency of attraction, tension is gold. Give it away too fast and you bankrupt the moment. Hold it calmly, without ego, and you set the pace, the tone, and the frame. He believed agreeing was kindness. She saw submission. He believed avoiding friction was maturity. She saw predictability. And when presence turns into compliance, attraction dissolves faster than it can be recovered. So ask yourself, how often have you smoothed over a moment, thinking it was right, only to watch her interest fade? Next time, don't argue, but don't fold either. Keep your tone even, your body steady, your gaze relaxed. Say, "Interesting. I was actually enjoying it. What would make it better for you?" Or, "Really? That's surprising. I liked the vibe here. What feels off to you?" You keep your frame while still inviting her in. You're not chasing approval. You're showing her that your center doesn't shift with every ripple. And that's the kind of presence that leaves a mark. What makes you unforgettable isn't smoothness, it's tension. Stay for this part because we're about to uncover why tension isn't just a reaction. It's the spark that creates emotion. And emotion is what burns your memory into her mind. 6. Tension, he'd say, emotion, or memory. The moment you remove all tension, you erase all memory. Think about it. When was the last time you remembered a conversation that was perfectly polite, perfectly smooth, perfectly safe? You don't, because safety without spark is forgettable. The same law that makes a movie scene unforgettable is what makes you unforgettable in her mind. Emotional tension. Take Ethan, 32, a marketing professional. Smart, well-spoken, always nice. On his second date with Maya, he stayed on what he thought was safe ground. Harmless questions with no edge. "So, what do you do? Do you like the food?" She answered, but each time her eyes drifted away a little sooner. The turning point came when he asked, "Do you like this music?" She smiled politely, said, "Yeah, it's fine," and went back to her drink. Ethan felt the air flatten. No spark, no pulse. In that moment, he realized he was making her feel nothing. Later, he remembered something she'd said earlier, that her street sometimes smells like rain before it falls. Her eyes had lit up then. That was tension. That was memory. And he had let it slip. Machiavelli would call this a failure to control the stage. In the theater of desire, emotion is the lighting, and tension is the shadow that makes it vivid. But when you play it too safe, when you turn on every light, you kill the mood. She isn't drawn in, she's exposed to it. But when you let uncertainty, playfulness, and subtle challenge hang in the air, you create a moment her mind wants to revisit. He thought being agreeable was intimacy. She felt it as absence, and presence without edge fades into background noise. The man who can hold tension, not with anger, not with fear, but with calm certainty, stops being just another face. He becomes an experience she replays in her mind. So ask yourself, how much of your connection is real tension, and how much is just avoiding discomfort? What stronghold will you command next, one no siege can take? State it, and I'll give you the Machiavellian defense to make it untouchable. Tonight, resist the urge to smooth over every pause. Share one thought that is vivid, specific, and truly yours. Then let silence breathe around it. You'll notice the difference, not in her words, but in the way she leans closer, curious about what you'll say next. Skip this shift and you'll keep thinking attraction is about agreement. Master it, and you'll understand how tension becomes the most addictive part of your presence. Because attraction isn't built on chasing approval. It grows when you bring energy, speak with conviction, and let the right kind of tension live between you. You've seen why weak questions fade, why avoiding disagreement kills curiosity, and why calm, grounded presence draws others in without effort. This isn't about tricks. It's about becoming a man whose world is worth entering. A man who doesn't fold under pressure, who speaks with clarity, and whose silence carries weight. That kind of man isn't just noticed. He's remembered, respected, desired. If you're ready to stop performing for approval and start owning every room you walk into, stay with this channel. Every video here is a step toward becoming unshakable. Because the moment you master yourself, you'll never need to chase anyone again.